Some school memories stay with us forever. The laughter, the ringing of the final bell, those blazing summer afternoons. But some memories are better left forgotten. The three stories you're about to hear aren't pulled from horror novels or Hollywood scripts. They're fragments of real memories, chilling events that took place in schools across America, places we thought were safe, hiding shadows we never saw coming. If you're watching this alone, make sure the doors are locked and no one's standing behind you. Story 1. The Nameless Janitor. My name is Emily Walker, a 7th grader at a small middle school in Oregon. I wasn't the kind of kid who stood out. Quiet, a little shy, not many friends. I mostly just kept my head down and got through each day. But that day I was actually excited. My parents had finally agreed to let my best friend Haley sleep over. It was all I could think about. My family's always been a bit overprotective. I wasn't allowed to ride the school bus home. Every single day, one of my parents would personally pick me up, and the school required whoever picked me up to sign a log at the front office. That day, my mom and dad were out of town, so my Uncle Gary and Aunt Linda were supposed to get me instead. When the final bell rang, I rushed outside, scanning the parking lot for their SUV, but it wasn't there. I waited 15 minutes, then 30. The lot slowly emptied, the golden afternoon light fading into something more gray, more hollow. Eventually, the school felt abandoned, eerily silent. I stood alone in the front hallway like the building itself was holding its breath. I finally decided to head toward the office to let someone know, but just as I turned the corner, I saw a man step in through the side entrance at the end of the hallway. Mid-40s, maybe older. He wore a wrinkled button-down and carried a large canvas duffel bag that looked like it had been dragged through a sewer. His eyes were blank, cold. The moment we made eye contact, I looked away. My chest tightened. Something about him was wrong. I hurried to the office and explained my situation to the woman on duty, Ms. Carter. She seemed annoyed to be held up, but still tried calling my aunt and uncle. No answer. She then called my dad, and thankfully he picked up. He said they were probably stuck in traffic and he'd try to reach them again. I felt bad for keeping Ms. Carter so late, and it was obvious she just wanted to go home. At that point, I was the last student in the building. Then the office door swung open. That same man walked in, but this time he was wearing a faded janitor's uniform. His name tag was half covered in duct tape. He gave this small, crooked smile, one of those smiles that makes your spine tense up, and told Ms. Carter that he lived near my uncle and aunt, and he could give me a ride home. I froze. How did he know where my relatives lived? No one had mentioned that, and just minutes ago, he had only just entered the school. Now he was claiming he was on his way home? Ms. Carter didn't seem concerned. In fact, she looked relieved, like she'd just been handed a way out. She agreed almost immediately. Before I could even say a word, the man grabbed my hand. His skin was ice cold, and began pulling me toward the exit. I looked back at Ms. Carter, hoping she'd stop him, say something, anything, but her eyes were empty, lifeless, like she wasn't even there anymore. A chill ran down my spine. We were nearly at the front doors when I heard the familiar sound of a car horn. I turned and saw it. Uncle Gary's old Ford pulling into the lot. I shouted as loud as I could, "That's my uncle! He's here!" The man froze, just for a second, but it was enough. I yanked my arm away. He didn't say a word, just turned and walked briskly back down the dark hallway, the one with no cameras. Uncle Gary slammed on the brakes, jumped out of the car, and rushed over. Through tears, I told him everything. He immediately reported the incident to the school. The next day, my parents came in and demanded answers. But nobody knew who the man was. He wasn't on staff. There was no record of any janitor fitting his description. And Ms. Carter? She quit that same day. No warning, no explanation. To this day, I still wonder, where did that man go in the time between when I first saw him and when he reappeared in uniform? And more importantly, what would have happened if my uncle had arrived just a few minutes later? Would I still be here to tell this story? Story 2, the 13th hallway. My name is Aiden Clark, an 8th grader at Redwood Middle School, an old creaky building tucked away in a small town in Michigan. That day, the atmosphere at school felt off. It hung in the air like static before a storm. Half excitement, half something no one could put into words. Summer break was just around the corner, and everyone was counting down the minutes. Teachers had stopped caring, and students were too restless to sit still. My last class of the day was PE. I was dying of thirst, so I asked to step out for a drink. The only working water fountain was near the main entrance, a quiet corner of the school where the lights flickered and the ceiling always creaked like it was groaning in pain. My sneakers echoed against the cold tile floor, each step bouncing back down the long, empty hallway. That's when I noticed the silence, a dead kind of silence. No lectures, no shouting, no slamming lockers, just the slap of my shoes and the hum of flickering lights. As I turned the corner, a shadow moved at the far end of the hall. It was a student, older, probably a grade or two above me. No backpack, right hand buried deep in the pocket of a gray hoodie, left hand clutching the waistband of sagging pants. His face was pale, blank, eyes completely devoid of emotion. He passed me without even glancing in my direction. I shivered. I shook it off, bent down and started drinking. The second the cold water touched my lips, a sharp, deafening pop cracked through the hallway behind me. I froze. Then two more pops, louder, closer. There was no mistaking it. Gunshots. Panic kicked in. I bolted toward the nearest door, the boys' bathroom. The old door groaned like a dying animal as I pushed through. I killed the lights, dove into a stall, and locked it. My whole body was shaking. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, just listened. My heart thundered so loud I thought it might give me away. The dark pressed in from all sides, and then I heard footsteps, fast, chaotic, echoing down the hall like ghosts in a stampede. Then, the bathroom door opened. I stopped breathing. Rubber soles squeaked slowly across the tile. Then the door shut again. Footsteps retreated down the hall. I didn't dare move, not even blink. In that moment, I truly believed I was going to die. I don't know how long I stayed like that. Time felt broken, until the school intercom crackled to life with the trembling voice of our principal. All students, please remain inside. Lock the doors, stay silent. Nearly an hour passed under lockdown. Eventually, a teacher opened the bathroom door and called out. I recognized her voice. Only then did I answer. Even after she walked me out, I felt like I was still trapped in that dark stall. I boarded the bus home in a daze. Out the window, the world looked like a war zone. Flashing police lights, parents screaming, kids running, teachers trying to keep order. Everyone on the bus buzzed with panic, whispering and speculating. But all I could see was his face, that blank expression, that boy who walked past me just moments before chaos erupted. That night, I saw his face again. On the news, no doubt, it was him. His name was announced. The headline read, "School shooting, 2 students injured, suspect in custody. No motive, no warning, no target. But I know one thing for sure, I was within arm's reach." He saw me. And to this day, I still don't understand why he didn't pull the trigger, and why he didn't. Story 3, the final note. My name is Madison Lane, and I was in 8th grade at Granite Ridge Middle School, a quiet little school tucked deep in the suburbs of Colorado. I played the clarinet in the school band, not because I loved it, but because my grandfather used to play, and we couldn't afford to buy anything else. Truthfully, I wasn't very good. I constantly messed up the rhythm, hit the wrong notes, and after every rehearsal, I'd hear whispers and snickers from the other kids. That's when Mr. Wallace, our band director, a middle-aged man with salt and pepper hair, always in wrinkled dress shirts and with a stare that lingered just a bit too long, offered to give me private lessons at his house. The idea made my skin crawl. Going to a teacher's house alone? It felt wrong. I politely declined, but he didn't stop asking. Week after week, he would bring it up again. Sometimes he'd even lean in close during practice and whisper just behind my ear, "You could be so much better, Madison, if you just open up." Every time he got near me, my whole body would tense. Then came the Christmas concert downtown. The school was buzzing with excitement. We rehearsed for weeks. On the night of the performance, Mr. Wallace stood before the band with a wide, forced smile on his face. One of those smiles that tried to seem warm, but instead felt like a mask hiding something darker underneath. He looked like a man acting in a play that only he knew the ending to. After the concert ended, students were gradually picked up by their parents. I waited near the side gate, where the streetlights flickered and the cold wind slipped through every crack in my jacket. Eventually, it was just me and Mr. Wallace left. I pulled out my phone to call my mom. That's when he grabbed my hand. His voice was soft, but it chilled me to the bone. "It's okay. You can call your mom from my place. Come on." He didn't wait for me to answer. He yanked me forward, his fingernails digging into my skin. He led me toward the back parking lot, an open, dark space behind the venue with no lights, no people, and a few dusty cars that looked like they hadn't moved in weeks, like corpses left behind after the party ended. I tried to scream, but my throat locked up. I tried to pull back, but he dragged me like a rag doll. Just as he reached to open the door of his old Navy SUV, I heard a voice, my mom's voice, cut through the night like a blade. "Madison!" I turned. She was running toward us, face pale with terror, eyes wide with realization. In that moment, something in Mr. Wallace's expression snapped. His smile vanished. His eyes burned with rage, desperation, like a wild animal that had just lost its prey. He squeezed my wrist even tighter and started running faster, yanking me with him. I thrashed, screamed, but the sound felt swallowed by the darkness. In a final burst of fear, I bit down on his hand as hard as I could. He let out a sharp growl, released me, and sprinted toward his car. My mom reached me seconds later, pulling me into her arms. I was shaking too much to speak. I could only cry. The next day, Mr. Wallace was gone. Just gone. The principal told everyone he'd taken an unexpected leave of absence. No one asked questions. Years later, I finally understood how close I came to dying that night. And the scariest part? If my mom had arrived just a few minutes later, my body might have ended up buried somewhere beneath the Colorado snow. And that old clarinet, cold, silent, would have sat in the music room locker, like a warning no one ever heard. 3 stories, 3 fears, 3 near brushes with death. A stranger pretending to be a janitor, a gunman passing you in the hallway, a teacher with dark intentions behind a gentle smile. You think things like this don't happen at school? The truth is, they still do. Quietly, somewhere out there, and sometimes, the scariest thing isn't the ghost in the night. It's the eyes of the person smiling at you every day. So tell me, would you still walk the halls alone after the final bell rings?